Well, welcome. It's actually June 17th. Had technical issues yesterday, so I am trying this again. This is a talk on system design and implementation of a portable streaming system. And this is at Myrtle Beach at the Ocean Reef with the Askew, for which I've attended in the past, although not in recent years. And I won't read the whole description here. It's essentially on a decisions and design implementation of a portable streaming system, and we'll just go from here. Now, the progression in which things happen is you have a person speaking to an audience. And when we go through this sequence, you want to have fallback solutions when things do not work right. So you start with, okay, we have a person speaking to an audience. Not everyone can hear them, so let's add amplification, megaphone, loudspeaker. Let's add visualizations, chalkboard, overheads, TV, projector. Let's add recording. We need a camera, microphone, storage. Oh, we'll add streaming. We'll do it in real time so people can actually watch this. At each step, if something fails, we want to go back. If we keep going back, we're left with the person speaking to the audience. Now, I've run a number of YouTube channels getting started with all this, from World War II, Methods and Habits of the World. They range from 20 people to about 100 or so. I've done about 50 of these. This is actually the first one I've had trouble, technical issues where I had to do it later. But we're going to be using, or I use OBS Studio, Open Broadcaster software. It's free and open source for screencasting and live streaming. And if you look this up on the internet, many companies will have search results at the top that want to sell you extra things, but you're looking for just the plain OBS. And the whole idea with OBS is you record things and you want to get close to production quality in one take. At West Point, the cadets would often say, working on a paper, it was first draft, final copy. That's what OBS is, pretty much, because it doesn't save all the feeds. You merge everything together, you mix it together as you're doing it, realizing you'll never have time to go back and do it the way you really wanted to, because the production takes a lot of time and effort. You may want to, what I've found is you may want to chop out parts of the end and the beginning so you can start a meeting, everyone can see it starting, and when the meeting actually starts, you're going to cut out everything before. And at the end, they'll end, and then they'll have announcements and other things as people wander about, and you can chop out that part. Now, I had a background on this starting in '96. I had done static photos of students with attendance. '98, I did a multimedia course, MBA course in business. I used Camtasia about 2006 to do about 100 screencasts, about 10 minutes each, for students, so they could see how to do certain things in Java and security data communications. The screencasts were kept about 10 minutes because that worked well for mixing everything together. In 2020, I started use Zoom in COVID. My whole class was online already because I had been doing that for many years. So when COVID happened, the class just continued just as it had been, with the only change that students weren't sitting in the classroom. Then in December of 2025, I got into World War II meetings and some local history meetings and so forth. And so I started doing streaming with that. Now in system design, let me go through that from a software engineering perspective. We have functional requirements, which is what you're going to do. They're often called use cases in Unified Modeling Language, or UML. Then you have non-functional requirements, and those are constraints on your functional requirements. They're required, but they could have been something else because we could achieve the same goal, but they're non-functional. Then we have implementation details of how we actually achieve those functional and non-functional requirements. And in doing this, you're trying to identify architecturally significant features of the system. That is a part of the system that if it fails, the entire project, in this case the stream, would fail. Now, a course covering these ideas would be like an upper level systems analysis and design course in business information systems, or a software engineering course in computer science. When I was at two good schools in the Southeast, our top 10 schools, one year I taught systems analysis and design in business. The next year I taught software engineering and looked at the books for in computer science. They were the same book with just the title and a few other things changed. So it was very similar. So, well, how does that fit into streaming systems design? You know, functional requirements, and that is, the meetings will be recorded and streamed. The non-functional might be, YouTube will be the streaming platform. We're going to meet at the American Legion, and we have to use their sound system and loudspeaker. That doesn't really specify. We don't need that for what will be done, but because of the constraints, we do need to do that because that is customer facing. The implementation detail the customers aren't concerned with. The listeners, after looking at it, decided to use OBS for the software for the streaming. And I ended up using wired OBS BOT, OSBOT cameras, and remote eMeet cameras, although other cameras could be used. And to fit that, PowerPoint slides will be converted to images. There are reasons for that. And in this case, anyone who had a PowerPoint or slides, they would get converted there. Now, some design considerations. The most important is to identify the actual problem. That's part of the waterfall method and doesn't really do that. Identify the architecturally significant features, those things that would cause the stream to fail. One would be you lose internet connection. You need fallback solutions, and I use those all the time. The clicker isn't working. Speaker will have to point to me or indicate to go to the next slide. Speaker can't see. The speaker note system isn't working, so they're just have to look around and see what slide it is. So the project doesn't fail, but it would be nicer if we had those features. So we have the fallbacks. Another is that you need to get the streaming machine, that is the laptop, with OBS into the loop. If you didn't need the slides on the screen, you could easily just use a phone or a video recorder. Would get almost as good, but as soon as you want slides and some other things going through the system put together with more than one source, say a camera and slides at the same time, and the slides looking nice, everything has to go through the streaming system in OBS. This then, scalability, you want to be able to move up from dozens to hundreds or more of channels, or not channels, but streams for channels, in which case you need to organize that. I'm not going to talk about that too much here. For presentation, people like the speakers will think, I got my computer, I'm just going to plug into the projector. Well, when we go through and record it, you have to send things to the OBS, and then it comes to the screen and you can see it. So it can't just have the laptop that's connected. Now here's a picture of some of the setup. This changes all the time. On the right is what I experimented with for what the speaker can see. At the top is a portable sound system. I have bigger speakers, but when traveling I just had the small one. And it's a screen with little battery backups and a receiver for HDMI, so you can just place it in front of the speaker. I've found that for a number of reasons having to do with power supplies and transmitters and multiple splitters, I may go back to the laptop that's connected to the network for the speaker to see what the speaker will see. On the left is looks like a mess. There are a lot of wires in there. They're zip tied down wherever possible so I can pack and unpack. Remember, in a portable system, you're coming into a place you don't know the first time what it's going to be, and even the second time and after, you have to completely set up, completely take down, so you want to do that in as quickly as possible. Now, if you're going to do YouTube, you set up the channel. You're going to need a logo, and later you'll need business cards. Everyone who has a Google account can set up their channel. You go into YouTube Studio while logged in, say in Chrome browser, and you say go live. It'll ask you, okay, you got to wait 24 hours, and you need to provide a phone number for verification. And you're only allowed 2 of those per year. Otherwise, you need to find another phone. And you simply schedule what you're doing before, and you go through. I'll show a little of that. I'm going to go through all of this, but essentially you're going to turn your stream on from OBS, check all the connections, audio, video. When you're ready, you record on. You turn your record on so you have a backup locally. And YouTube has an archive feature, but you need to then remember to go live. Click that in the button in Chrome or YouTube Studio to go live. You can then do post-editing, and there's a hash key approach, and I'm going to talk about all those as we go through. Now, I'm going to look at OBS. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. There are tutorials on that. But I'm going to select settings, select the stream, and then this is the very first time. The service I want, and you select the YouTube RTMPS, primary YouTube ingest server. Some of those will already be set once you set one of them. Do not connect your account. It says recommended. It's best if you don't. Just use the stream key. It creates, it's much easier to use the stream key. It says stream key advanced. That ends up making it easier. You get the one-time unique stream key unless you change it from YouTube Studio. You put it into OBS, and now every time you're ready to go. I have a little system I use that actually checks to see if the hash key is set correctly. OBS does store that hash key in the clear in the configuration file. So if someone gets access to your computer, they then would have your hash key. And if they knew when you were streaming, they can't set up a stream, but if they knew when you were doing, they could try to stream at the same time. If someone breaks into your computer, they probably have other things they want to do rather than get your hash key. Once you have the hash key set, you would go to this YouTube Studio channel dashboard. Log in if needed. Usually you would be kept logged in. You switch to your channel. I have more than one, so you switch to the channel, select Create, Go Live, and any pending streams will be shown there. And you select the one you want to use, or you select Schedule Stream. I always reuse the settings, and you can change those as desired. Now they'll want a title, so you want to have a title and a description. The description can be elaborate. Remember, these will be used to search for your stream. And I'm using streaming software. You pick that. I picked education, and I provide a thumbnail, and I have a way to generate those for when I have multiple streams. I've always selected no, it's not made for kids, so I don't have to be concerned about that. And you can edit these settings later before starting the stream, and some of them can be changed after the stream if you realize there's a problem in your description or something. When I'm doing the actual streaming, I had an issue last month where the speaker thought they would bring a child or kid about 8-10 years old up to ask a question. Well, we're taking pictures, so I had to wave to them, no, we keep them out because until you research the rules for bringing children on your stream, you want to be careful about that. Now you're going to finish scheduling the stream, have the visibility, download, and it's a paste the stream key into your software. And in that place, when you click on that, you would then put that stream key in, and this is again a one-time thing. Copied to once. And the top two boxes there show what you're going to see in YouTube Studio, and the bottom show what you see in OBS, both with a dark theme. And that stream key on the top is going to get copied, and it's going to be pasted into replace the one that's on the bottom in OBS. Now you're set for that. You now connect your encoder, and sometimes the YouTube Studio prompts aren't always as clear as they should be, but you click on that, and you would get there from your scheduled for list, or later, or if you do it right away, it's there for the first time. The scheduled for time is a suggestion. YouTube doesn't care, but your viewers may care. And then you want to be able to start, check the connection, stop and restart many times within a reasonable delay, or if there's some loss of data. So do not enable auto start, do not enable auto stop. If you do that and the data stops, YouTube will say, oh, you're done, and now you can't restart it. And so you enable, no, I want to start my stream, and when I'm ready, I'll go live. So do not enable those unless you really want to. Now, yeah, you can come back later, select go live. I put the one test, I did a little test stream logo or image for the presentation. You can see your upcoming stream, select one, then you can start the stream. Notice this is the same screen we saw when we first scheduled it. So you can either start it right away, that is start streaming and then go live, or you can do it later. Whenever you're going live, there's like a 5 to 10 second delay in there. And I saw an option where you can actually put more in if you wanted, if something happened, you wanted to stop so people can't see what just happened, like you want to bleep out something or remove something. I have not used that yet. So once you start your stream in OBS, you would check your YouTube connection. I have a lot of windows on one little laptop screen, so I just need to see the part about excellent and a little bit about what's being viewed, so I know if the right slide is coming in. Then you want to go live, but before that you would do the OBS records. You want to record, then you go live, and now you're live. If you don't select go live, you'll see everything in the stream in the YouTube Studio window, but your viewers won't see it. When you're ready to stop, you stop recording in OBS, you stop streaming in OBS. After about 10 seconds, YouTube Studio will realize, oh, there's no data here. And then you can select stop. If you weren't done, say the internet, something interrupted the stream, or you decided to stop streaming for 30 seconds or something, you can then restart that. And then you'll finally see the stream finished, and now it goes into the archive list. Sometimes there's a delay on that, sometimes there isn't. Some extras I put in with the system is a countdown timer, pre-meeting slideshow with different like upcoming events and so forth. So the whole scenario is start the stream to verify your connection, go live when you're ready, stream and record, and later you can edit the recording. Typically, you might want to remove some beginning and ending parts. To do that, you cannot edit your stream. You have to download the stream or use the copy you recorded, edit that, and upload it as a new one. And then if you don't want the confusion, you would have to delete the old stream, and then it would show up on your recordings rather than on the stream list. The biggest issues I've faced, and what I faced yesterday, one is power issues. You don't get the right power to the right devices. Another are cable issues. Once I set up the stream or set up the streaming platform, you want to be very careful not to touch anything on the platform. Otherwise, you might bump a cable. It might mess up the video on a monitor you're using or something else, and all of a sudden everything gets interrupted and everything gets messed up. So if you need to be able to change things during the stream, what I do is I have little push button clickers where I can turn off the power, turn it back on to a certain device. Be careful with certain devices, it may mess everything up. If your monitors get messed up, Windows decides, oh, I'm going to move all your windows to someplace else, and they're not where you want them, so you need a way to get those windows back. Audio issues, you have feedback, echo, grounding, and things like that cause problems. I end up using just one switch to go out, and I only have two audio sources, the speaker on a lapel mic, two lapel mics, and the computer in case I need to play an MP4, but you may need more. Video issues, you have color balance and lighting. I found Google Docs useful for sharing because when you have a speaker with a large PowerPoint, you often cannot send that via email. And then they have all these different file sharing systems that want you to use their system, and then it times out after a few days. If you simply make a shared folder in your Google Drive and share that with them, that can work. There are other ways using Google Forms and so forth, but somehow you need to get those PowerPoints and convert them. I found it useful to share a spreadsheet, Google spreadsheet, with the people running the streams so they can maintain the updated spreadsheet of the dates and the speaker and the title and the description and so forth. Then I can generate all the intro slides and so forth from that. Now, I'm not going to go into the cost a lot, but the infrastructure, that is not the people cost, can be significant for these hardwired locations. When I first started looking at smaller and larger churches, I was thinking the smaller ones, oh, they might have spent $10,000 or so, and the larger ones $20,000. When I talked to them, the smaller ones were spending $20,000 to $30,000, maybe more, and the bigger ones $40,000 to $60,000 or more, so the costs can add up. Your biggest cost is going to be a good streaming laptop, probably about $1,000, a good projector, $500 to $1,000, so everyone can see it, and of course all the little extras which then add up. Presentation guidelines. Remember, the stream is a real-time production, and there are different parts, like in a top-down design. You have the before meeting where people are wandering around, then you have the announcements before. Often these are done in an ad hoc manner, and the person doing it doesn't realize, well, this should really be part of the production. They only have the meeting introduction, the speaker introduction, then the speaker presentation, the question and answer, and the conclusion, and then the announcements. So you need to decide how that's going to be organized and how in order to best look like more of a professional production. When I actually come in and I start setting up, I start moving everything out of the wagon and the little platform, but certain things need to be started before. If I need my hotspot phone, which is the backup, and there's no local internet, I need to turn that on. That takes a few minutes. I turn the power on to the docking station. This powers the router and so forth, which gets connected to the hotspot as needed. I turn on and boot the laptop, which takes less time. And I found with Windows 11, I boot the laptop up separately. Once the docking station and the router are all connected and up, then I connect the docking station to the laptop. There's one connection to the laptop. I'll show later I have a visual connection. I can see when the router is connected. During this time, I can verify the projector, set up the speaker notes view, and so forth. I start the slideshow and the countdown timer. At some point during this sequence, the speaker will show up and I find out that they want to sit, stand where they want to be, put the microphone on them, set up everything for that speaker. In the World War II streams, some of them now are 101 years old. They look in great shape, but need to find out, do you want to stand, sit, hold the microphone, what do you want to do? Go over with the speaker how to use the remote and the clicker to verify that that works. And when you do that, it's often better to say, instead of saying, I want to make sure you can know how to use this, I'll say, let's make sure that the clicker works right. Put it on the clicker so we'll see if that does work right. Then I have to, at some point I have to start and verify all the cameras. I have to set the audio and set that up all before I'm ready to go stream. And that's when I bring up YouTube Studio, go live, adjust the cameras, and so forth. I often have to start the slides in full slide view, and then later I can actually set up the cameras, or they're already set up, but focus them in on the right place if I run out of time. So you have to be ready to delay certain things till later if you're running out of time. Now, I use a wireless router. I'll show it in a minute, because up at the upper right we have YouTube Stream. That's where we want to get things to our stream through the internet. Your routers could be the site router, a hotspot router, or a home router. And I connect to that through my stream router or my main router if I'm doing it from my main computer at home. We have the streaming laptop, which is going to record, and then we have the main computer. When you check your bandwidth, and I didn't put this in, but you do a speed check the first time, you want at least 5 megabits per second upload. The upload will be much faster. It's typically about 30 megabits per second, but it can be lower. If it gets below 5, you'll have streaming issues. The downloads are probably a lot higher, simply because people download and look at things more than they upload. If there's a lot of VPNs being used, those do use the upload. I use a specific subnet on my router so that if the subnet computer, if it ends in 128, it's the main computer. Otherwise, they're all accessing data off that main computer. I found with the hotspots, when I did this for a history group, if I did something in the evening, I had a lot of bandwidth connection issues on the hotspot using Verizon. But if I did it at 1 in the afternoon, where most of them took place at that time, had almost none. And it appears that after the students would get out from school and people would drive by and they'd be looking at all these videos, it must have used up some of the available bandwidth. I ended up using a GL iNet, I guess Slate 7 wireless router. It uses OpenWRT, which is a open source router software which I've used before. It auto connects to the Wi-Fi, which is nice. I then can connect everything to it. But what I really like is the visual display. I can check and see the bandwidth going up and down if I need to. And I can look and see, oh, the repeater is on. That means I'm there. The local network has been established because before I do certain things on the computer, I want the local network. And then I can connect YouTube. In my case, all machines have their main data, say about 1 terabyte at the F drive on Windows, and that is shared. And so the main computer is at the IP ending in 128. All machines then map their D drive to that location, and therefore the router ends up deciding who the main computer is on the network. So the streaming laptop network, the streaming laptop is the main computer. On the main network, or my home network, mini PC computer is there. I have a Verizon Pixel hotspot. I use that phone. I use that as a backup. If something else doesn't work, or if the Comcast at home doesn't work. And if you can see the image there, on the left it says Wi-Fi hotspot, 0 devices connected. So I brought that phone up, takes a few minutes, takes a minute or so, so I start that first. And then when the router gets up, it takes the router about 2 or 3 minutes to boot up and connect. But it does find the network the default network. If it doesn't, I need a quick way on the browser to go change it to another network. And I see on the right 1 device connected. That should be my streaming laptop. I'm fine. If I see 2 devices connected, there's a problem here. It's usually not a security problem. It's the fact that my streaming if I use a laptop for the speaker, it may be connecting to the hotspot when it should be connecting to the streaming router. Now, when I work at home, I have 6 large screens spread between 2 computers. One is the main computer, but I could have more, and it lets me see a lot of status and do things. On the left, I have my streaming laptop diagram. I have a very small screen, and then I have 2 small HDMI monitors, and sometimes I'll use just one because of power issues. And those let me see the sides that are going to go to the projector. I use a splitter. I have 2 small 7-inch monitors. They're simply placeholders for Windows because Windows will get mixed up if there isn't a physical monitor there. And if I don't have a projector or something connected, Windows doesn't know what to do, and so I need a placeholder there. Now, when you have one small screen and a lot of things on the screen, you need to give focus to the screen you want to look at. You want to do it quickly. So I end up using Stream Deck MK.2 has like 15 buttons. I use a small bevel. I bought an extra bevel to make it not so high. But what the Stream Deck allows you to do is automate all sorts of things with push buttons. There are some out of the box you can set, and I do a lot of programming where I'll just create the graphics for those. The most important thing you'll want is the feature where you can give focus to an application. Because if you have 5 or 6 applications running on your one small screen and you need to go between them, you want to do it quickly, and you don't want to hit the wrong key when you change focus, or you could mess up part of your stream. I did that a few weeks ago. I accidentally clicked on the camera button that said, okay, just auto move the camera around and just use AI to find the speaker, and it just went wild. I had to switch right away to another camera. I figured out I had clicked the wrong button. Now, things like devices like the and I should be back up, but I lost, if you're here listening to me, I just lost an internet connection at the right time, wrong time, but what I ended up doing, I've done this several times in OBS, is I stop streaming, then I start streaming to pick up. I'm not sure if anything gets lost there. So we were on the Stream Deck. You want to set the application so you don't do the wrong thing with that. Oh, just before. So the internet went out, right? It lost a connection for a few seconds. And how did I know? Well, I have a little part in the left part of the screen which shows me YouTube Studio, just the part that says excellent connection, and I can see what I'm seeing on the slide to make sure it comes through, and I noticed that that was not there. Now the OBS is still giving me everything, and so I needed to go there and start and stop the stream. Now some of these devices will lose connection, so I have little push button switches, so occasionally if Windows loses, say, the Stream Deck, I'll use the push button to turn it off and on. You don't want to be pulling and unplugging and plugging, because that creates vibrations and could mess up other cables on the system. So we up in the upper right there, I show a little clicker. speakers like to have clickers. They can go to the next slide, go to the previous slide, but the slides are on the main computer. The clicker goes to the main computer unless you figure out a way to do it. Otherwise, I do not want to be working on things and have these clicks from the clicker coming into my computer, because I might mess them up or mess something else up. So here's, I ended up using the Norway presenter. It has software. I can assign those clicks to almost any keystroke I want to. I typically use Control F21 and then Control F22. What are those F21s and 22s? Well, on your keyboard you'll have F1 to F12, but Windows actually put in F23 to, or F13 to F24, but they're not used, at least in Windows. So if you need a system key that will allow you to get a keystroke into a program, you can use one of those. Now, I don't want to, this is part of computer science, but when you have bits and sets, you have 7 values, like 3 bits, 1 representing 1, 1, 2, and 1, 4. In colors, the bits represent red, green, and blue. You can get the other CMYK, cyan, magenta, and yellow from those. But with keystrokes, you have Shift, Alt, Delete. Oh, 3 values, just like colors. So you have actually 8 values. Your F13 all the way to Alt-Shift, Control Alt Shift F13, so that gives you a lot of shortcuts. Now OBS has a hotkey feature I'm not going to go into, but if you assign some of your hotkeys in OBS to these values, they're not going to conflict with other system values. And I use those with the clicker to get the clickers through. If you're into programming, you can actually use auto hotkey. I've used that for many years as a little bit of code. And you can then redirect the keys that you intercept into 2 other programs and give them the value you want. So I won't go into that, but if you need to control keystrokes, and so if you click, it would otherwise go to the program that has focus. Well, I want it to go to the program I want it to go to, so I use auto hotkey. If it's an OBS shortcut, OBS will already look at all the global keys and it will take care of grabbing that one for you. I use various input devices. There's the clicker. I like the Pebble mouse from Logitech, but there are others, and then I have different keyboards. I found that the Bluetooth keyboard and mouse are very useful because most of the new ones support, say, 3 devices. So if you have 3 devices, a speaker, laptop, they're using to see the slides, you have the main laptop, you have others, you can then have 3 devices on one. You don't have to carry 3 different mice or 3 different keyboards. Now the data flow, I have the main computer on the right, I have the streaming laptop on the left. So all the main data has to go to the streaming laptop, so it's synchronized. And then all the stream data has to come back the other way. I end up putting those on different drives, one on the D drive, one on the G, to make things simple. So we have data flow going from the main to the streaming, and then back from the streaming to the main computer. And I do this typically via an intermediate SSD drive. We're talking about a terabyte size drive. And if I do this from a USB shared device, I don't need to physically copy or be plugging cables or flash drives in and out. So a USB switch saves you unplugging and plugging. It was one time called SneakerNet. And this allows me to go between the 2 drives. I push the button, connect it to both, and I can go back and forth. That SSD drive that I use to copy is essentially a backup, and I take that with me in case anything happens at the streaming laptop. I have a copy of everything that should be there on that drive. And on the right I show the map drives, because there's the ones with the asterisks are the map drives. So every computer then has their own copy of the local data code, and then they can also access the one from the main computer. Yeah, so I've talked about this, we're not going to go into the details of PowerPoint, but essentially you want to convert that to slides. That can be done programmatically, or you can go through and just say in PowerPoint and save it to slide images. I use a lot of naming conventions, used that for years. For example, on the left, I put folders with the date, time, in a dash format of when the presentation is. These never conflict because I'm never going to be doing two streams at exactly the same time. And also encode some of the information about the stream, which is also saved elsewhere. On the right, realize you can name slides like slide-0000 and just go up from there at different levels. I end up going up by, had done 10, but going up by 100, just so I have spaces in the middle, so if I want to dynamically add slides in the middle, I can do that. And they're pulled out from the PPTX. I use a high-powered 64 gigabyte Nova ThinkBook as a streaming laptop, and that works pretty well. And the other things there we've covered before. The IdeaPad 5i, the touch screen stopped working, but that works good for the other speaker view. Notice your streaming laptop has one connection to the docking station. It actually provides power to the docking station if the docking station isn't providing power. Your docking station becomes important. The one on the left I've found works pretty well. Has lots of output connections, has the input connection. I use that with USB hub. The USB hub on the right, I've tried different USB hubs to get power distributed, and they all seem to have issues. The one important thing I've found out from the hubs is if you have a USB-C hub, it helps with your flash drive or SSD or hard drive drive access. For some reason, when going from Windows 7 to Windows 11, as a developer, kept Windows 7 for a while, all of a sudden, flash drive, SSD drive access through the USB port to the computer became very, very slow. And at some point, I realized if I plug the flash drive into the USB-C hub, it goes like maybe 10 times faster. And that was helping with the updates. So I asked AI why that happens. I did not get a good answer. I use different charging blocks to get power, and make sure you have enough power going to everything, and there can be all sorts of strange power issues that happen when you don't want them to, like yesterday. I've been experimenting with power and portable chargers. I can actually run everything off a portable charger, the little power bricks, say for the monitors and the router and so forth. The main power brick seemed to go, the power was going down about 1% per minute, which would be 100 minutes, but I realized, and I've not checked yet, that it's keeping the laptop 100% charged. Once it runs out of power, then the laptop is going to provide everything, and I should be able to get another 30 minutes or so, so I'll have to check that for the streams. It is nice not having to rely on finding power outlets and having cables on the floor where people can trip on them. Yeah. And the big thing with going over things with the speaker is make sure they can get to the second slide from the first, and they'll be concerned because they won't see their slides and say, I will tell them or let them know when it's time for you to talk, I will change the slides so that it will be your first slide, and then they feel much better. I use several different screen configurations. At the top is the wide or full screen, 16:9 ratio. But I also use two different narrow views, because if you want to combine the speaker on the right with the sides on the left, you need a way to do that. Yes. And I listed ffmpeg.exe. If you ever want to do automated programmed editing or changes on the MP4 files or so forth, that is a good command line program to use. Here's an example of the scene management in OBS. On the right is my full widescreen view. On the left is a narrow view with the speaker. There's no one there, it's just a background. When I press cut, those two will switch. And so I'm looking, everyone is seeing the one on the right, and the one on the left is waiting, and I can push that, cut that, move it over, and switch them whenever I need to. If you look on the lower left, we have all these scenes, and then you can preview on the left and see the one on the right. That's what they see. And keep in mind that what the audience sees in your meeting will be only the slides. That's what goes to the projector. Because they don't need to see the person, because the person's standing right there. But the viewers can't see them, so you put that, and then you can switch back and forth between them. And that way you can see in the preview. So if you need to adjust the camera and it's in the preview, you can adjust the camera without having it going back and forth for the viewers. You can also do transitions. It'll transition between it, but we're not going to those fancy transitions. And there we have it. I just switched the view to the other one. So they're not quite lined up, but you switch them back and forth as needed. So you need to set up those scenes. And a scene on the left is simply a collection of sources, a video source, a camera source, and so forth. I only use a few of those sources. Now audio, I ended up using a DJI mic mini. It gives me 2 lapels. Make sure you get the docking charging case, which is nice. That keeps them charged up, and they come on as soon as you take them out. I use a hardwired switch rather than a mixer for the audio, because I only need 2 audio sources. I need the speaker, and I need any MP4 computer generated sound. Interesting, my connection just came off and then it came back on. I've been told that if you're watching, you just see a delay and everything goes to the recording. Okay, on the lower right here, I have different amplification systems. If the site does not have one, I have from the small one for a small room to larger ones, and I only showed a few pictures here. And I use an audio remote link there, so I don't have to have wires to where the audio is coming out. You just don't want the feedback coming in. Speaker, yeah, where you all these details. Wired. You don't want to use Bluetooth, too many delays. USB has delays unless it's with a camera or some. And so you need to check if you want the lips. If you have a close-up of people, you want the lip sync, the moving of the lips in tune with the camera. Feedback loops can cause lots of problems. Background noise can cause problems with people with hearing aids, and there are different other advices there. You can see the mixers in OBS. On the left, no sound, not good, no audio. On the right, or in the middle, not good. 3 channels, going to get echo. You're going to have 3 sources all playing at the same time. On the right, good. We got 1 channel coming in, and we got backup channels. Now, when you do this in OBS, it's hard to get all the names right, so you need a way to check those. The projectors, I have 2 different ones. One's an older one, a newer one. You want at least 3000 NC lumens. And the lumens, you need to check because companies will use different values for the lumens. You want something bright enough so if there's some background light, you can actually see. And then I have some remote screens and things I use there. Here's an example from one of the World War II meetings. And the internet is coming in and out. I'm checking my router, and it looks like it's good from time to time, so we'll see. And there's one of our 101-year-old speakers. The remote camera didn't work because he ended up being shorter and it wasn't high enough, but I had to use the backup camera for most of the meeting. You have the connection issues. If you use your own web browser, which I do. There are problems with Edge wanting to, every day or so, wanting to get your permission to use your own web server on your own computer. I use a small 2-foot wagon. Make sure you have the little wheel locks. If you're going to put it in your car, you can use a ramp if you need to get up to, say, your location in the hatchback. Use a little bag. And if I don't need everything, I use a little rolling cart. I can put everything in a little rolling cart. I use a little camping table with the legs that remove. If I need, I have a camping seat to use. I have the, I use a shoe rack that's in its one form to put things on, and then different tubs and basins. There we can see it. There's the table on the left and the little cart with different containers to hold everything. And on the right, it's then set up. Use different cameras. I use eMeet and the Tiny SE from Osbot. Make sure, I like to have at least a computer from the same manufacturer on the main computer so I can get used to their interface. Use an active USB cable if you're going to go more than, say, 10 feet. I've used them up to 40 feet. You want a tripod to put the cameras on, and those little quick release devices help, because when you're setting up, you can just take the camera and click it right onto the top and lock it rather than having to screw it in each time. Yeah. Each one of these has camera software. You need to learn about it. The AI tracking tends to have issues because it will wander a lot of times. And there are presets you can use which will help to go back to where you were at. You want at least 2 cameras, and realize what happens if a camera goes out of focus or the speaker walks away or does something. Well, I might switch back to the main slide or full slide view. But if a camera needs adjusted, it's easier to adjust it when it isn't the main camera. In other words, it's not the main view, and so you can use the other camera while one camera while you adjust the other. I use also, yeah, we'll get to that. I use all sorts of color-coded electrical tape and stickers because I want to know what the red camera and the blue camera is, say if I have 2 of the same type, along with the cables. So, and I give them numbers because Osbot cameras, they have a number in their interface, because when you're looking at the camera, it's hard to tell which one you're going to change, and you need to know, so that helps. I use HDMI transmitters and receivers. I split the signal so one can go to the monitor to keep, a small monitor to keep windows from getting mixed up, and the other to the transmitter. I have a transmitter which goes to 2 receivers, which ends up being convenient. I mount everything on these little monitor risers with little holes in the screw-on legs. I do that so I can have actually combine them together on top of each other, and I zip tie everything down. Some future projects include using Insta360 X5. I know it might be a little old, using that for some projects. As far as the slides, I have it set up. I can get a slide history, so I know when the slides were changed. I can do all sorts of dynamic changes or dynamic slide acquisition. I have things where we give the speaker feedback, semi-automatic removal and white space in slides and so forth, and searches and other things. Looking at scanners, the document scanner, going to look at that. And then I want to skip through some of this. I do have software which I use to do with this, but we don't need that right now. So I think I went through everything, a little bit over the time, but there's no time limit here for this. Let me check this. So this has been at least a retry of doing the systems design and implementation of a portable streaming system. And I'll see there were 3 places in this stream where it was disconnected, and we'll see what happens. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go, and you won't see all of this, is I'm going to stop recording, then I'm going to stop streaming, and I'm going to wait till YouTube realizes